Hello, bookworms! Today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about shelf organization, physical and Goodreads. So as I've been saying for like a little while now, I read this book by Marie Kondo, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and it really was. It did a lot for me. After I read this, I spent so much time like going through every physical thing that I own, getting rid of the things that I don't use on a daily basis, that don't make me happy, that I've been holding on to for like out of reasons of guilt, whatever that may be, and purge them, got rid of so many boxes worth of things, and I've been feeling so good about the way that my space looks, and I honestly feel like it has afforded me the opportunity to be more creative just because I don't have the constant like thought in the back of my mind that like I should be organizing something or I just felt like there were all of these things weighing me down, and I just don't feel that way anymore. Like now I can come home and I'm like, I'm gonna read in bed and drink a cup of tea and light a candle and not think about anything else. And it's like super great. So one of the categories that Marie Kondo talks about is books, and being a book lover, it's not that easy to clean out books, but she suggests that you go through every single book on your shelf, make sure that you physically hold it, think about whether it brings you joy or not, and if it doesn't, you can thank it for the time in your life that it did, and then put it in the discard pile, and then you're like more free to move on. So while I was doing the entire Marie Kondo process, I did go through my books and I got rid of like 11 boxes of books. And before I even moved to my apartment, I also got rid of a lot of books. But I decided that I still had too much and I still wanted to purge more. So with Alexa of Alexa Loves Books, with her help, she really like helped me a lot. I was texting her about doing all my bookshelf reorganization. You can actually see in my frame that some of my shelves are a bit different than they had been in the past. I'll actually like go down too so that you can see more of the things that you can't see when I'm sitting in front of them. One of my goals for the year is that I really wanted to reorganize my shelves, and I really wanted to make some more like fandom shelves. So I went through all of my books yet again, and I found myself being much more ruthless with my purging, and I just feel really good about it. Like I got rid of a lot of books that have either been on my shelf for a couple of years and I still haven't read it, so that means that I probably am not going to if it's been that long and I still haven't read it. So I got rid of a bunch of those. I also got rid of a bunch of books that I thought were enjoyable, but I can't see myself rereading because I always held on to things that I'm like, oh, that was cute, like I'll keep it. And like, I know myself and I make goals constantly to reread books, and yet the only books that I have ever reread are Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. So I still do really want to get better about it, but I just haven't yet. So I don't know why I'm holding on to these. Like if I were to get better about it, the things that I would reread are like favorites, like The Raven Cycle and like things like that. Like that is what I would be rereading. I wouldn't be rereading this one like random contemporary that had a cute story. So I got rid of a bunch of those, and I'm just really happy with the way that things look here. And it made me feel really good. It took 2 days to do everything. It was so tiring, but so worth it. And I feel really good about it. And I'm like constantly staring at my shelves now because I just love like the way that they look. I obviously did keep a lot of books that I haven't read yet too, because I read a lot and I need to have options, and I'm a mood reader, and if I only had like one book on my TBR, I would freak out because like what if I don't want to read that one book? What if I want to read something else? So I like to have options. I need to have options, and I'm just very pleased with like where everything is now. So after doing that, it really inspired me to do the same thing but digitally. So I went to my Goodreads page and I cleaned out so many of my shelves. So last year I had decided to categorize everything and to just like keep track of every tiny little thing that you could possibly imagine, so that if I ever needed to come up with answers to a tag or something, like I would have a shelf of like contemporary books that I have read or like things like that. Like every little tiny genre I had a shelf for, whether I read it, whether it's on my TBR. And it was honestly just overwhelming to see so many shelves sitting there and to be like, I can't even find the shelf that I'm looking for because there are so many shelves to look through. So what I did is I first deleted a lot of those shelves. I just got rid of a ton of them just to simplify things. After I did that, I also did a huge clean out of the books that I have categorized as want to read. So I got rid of so many of them. I do have a shelf that is called consideration. So books that that had been on my want to read shelf that I have lost a little bit of interest in, but maybe at some point in the future there's a chance that I could want to read it again. Those books are on my consideration shelf. It has made me feel like my TBR is so much more manageable. It's amazing. Like I think there's about 200 books right now on my TBR shelf, and I'm just like, I can breathe. I can do this. I can read all of these 200 books. And it just feels so good. And it feels so good to see that number going down as I continue reading. And another thing that I did in order to keep that number down is I also made a shelf called TBR Unreleased. So any book that I want to read but is not out yet, that goes on my TBR Unreleased shelf. And then those will be moved over to either want to read or consideration when they come out, depending on my feeling toward it. Because sometimes I'll like think that I really want to read a book, but then I hear all of these like negative reviews about it or different like reasons why it's problematic, and then I really don't want to waste my time with it, so it's not going to go on my want to read shelf then. This is a fun like discussion. I don't really do discussion-y things. So I did that, and then also I created shelves for all of the reading challenges that I am taking part in for the year. I'll leave a link down below to the video that I did outlining those challenges. I deleted all of the shelves that I used for my 2016 challenges because 2016's over. I'm not going to need to reference those again. And I'm just going to tell you like what my current Goodreads shelves are. I'm also going to leave a link down below to my Goodreads so that you can see my shelves if you want to see them. And also you can add me as a friend if you want to be friends on Goodreads. I'm very bad about messages because I'm in a couple of groups and I feel like they just send messages constantly. So I literally never check those. So just so you know, like if you send me a message, I am not ignoring you. It's just that I have like hundreds of messages on Goodreads and I just never look at them. So one of the things that you can do with Goodreads, which I didn't know that you could do, but I discovered I think last year. So you can make shelves that are not like mutually exclusive. So you can create like as many shelves as you want, but sometimes they'll have to be on like one of the main shelves in order for it to be on another shelf, if that makes sense. So if you have something on like your want to read shelf, then you can also put it on like a secondary shelf that you created. But you can also make a shelf that you created like a primary shelf. So for primary shelves where I can have books on these shelves and not have them on any other shelves, I have a read shelf, I have a want to read shelf, I have a currently reading shelf, I have a consideration shelf, I have a DNF shelf, I have a TBR graphic novel shelf, and I have a TBR manga shelf. Oh, and also, as I said before, the TBR unreleased shelf. So that has helped me categorize. That's made me feel like my physical TBR is a lot more manageable. Then on secondary shelves, which means that it can be on more than one shelf, I have all the shelves for the reading challenges, which I mentioned. I have a favorite shelf, which is also my featured shelf. So anytime that I read a book and I really love it, I put it on my favorite shelf. And then if you go to my Goodreads profile page, you can see that shelf like prominently displayed and you can check out what my favorite books are. Then I also have two shelves. I have one for 2017 new releases and one for 2018 new releases. That way when I'm getting to the end of the year and I'm trying to pick out like my favorite covers of the year or things like that, it's much easier to reference books that have come out during the year, whether I've read them or not read them. I can still see like, you know, everything about them. Then I also have a shelf for books that I own and a shelf for ebooks that I own. These two are not up to date since I have done my purge. So I do need to go back through that and update it. And I also need to get better about updating the ones that I currently have, that like new books that I've gotten in, I need to add to it. So I'm actually considering just kind of deleting that shelf and starting from scratch because it just seems like too much to go through all of it. I should just like start fresh. Then I have a read graphic novel shelf, a read manga shelf, and then finally I have a series TBR shelf. So this is also really helpful just so that I can keep track of how many series I'm in the middle of, what books I have left in that series to complete. And then another new thing that I have started doing this year. So I told you how I really culled my want to read shelf. So one of the things that I'm doing in order to keep that number down as well is I am only putting like the next book in a series on that shelf. So if I'm in the middle of reading, like let's just say for example, I'm reading Throne of Glass, like, and that I've never read it. Obviously I have and I love it because it's so great. But like, let's say that I'm reading the first book, then I would have the second book on my want to read shelf if I definitely want to continue. And then I would have the rest of the books on the consideration shelf. So that has also been really helpful because then also I don't feel pressured to continue with series that I'm not enjoying. So if I finish reading a book and I love it, and I feel inspired like immediately to add the next book to my want to read shelf, that's a good sign. But if I finish it and I'm like, that wasn't super great, then it'll remain on consideration and I won't feel that pressure to continue. I think it just has like helped me a lot. So maybe it'll help other people too. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I have to say. I know that was actually like way longer than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be like 2 minutes of me being like, these are my Goodreads shelves. But then I kind of started talking about my physical shelves too, because I just really liked the life-changing magic of tidying up and it was really helpful for me. And it has, I feel like, done really good things for me as a reader. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And so hopefully you enjoyed it too. Let me know any kind of system that you have for getting rid of books on your TBR or just like making sure that things are manageable, whether you feel overwhelmed, how you handle physical books. I'd love to know because I just find that fascinating. So, oh, and also if you ever need help culling your shelves, I highly recommend being friends with Alexa of Alexa Loves Books because I could not have gotten rid of as much as I did if I didn't have her. Like I was texting her constantly, like photos, like what do I do? But she had all these rules that really helped me. So you should ask her for help. So yeah, that is all that I have for this video and I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye.